Okay, we are recording.
Perfect. Okay, well then if you are ready, then I'll introduce you. Okay, so again, for those of you that have been in our Friday calls, many of you have interacted with Indi. She is a social media, I mean, I actually don't know how to introduce, like, I never know how to tidily introduce people, like by title. I feel like we all have multiple titles because we all do so many things, but what Indi has been able to accomplish, which is so interesting to all of us as business owners, is she was able to create an audience and followers through social media. And I know so many of us struggle with that, right? It's like, how do we get people to follow us, engage with us, but all that good stuff, right? So Indi, and I know you're going to tell everybody the numbers, but it's like some crazy numbers that I think it was at the beginning of quarantine. You decided to do this project on YouTube and social media. And I know you'll tell everybody the numbers, but because she's been talking about that on the Friday calls, we were getting questions coming in, people wanting to know how to do it. So we decided to do this webinar, and I'm learning along with all of you from Indi today, because, many people think I'm a social media guru, but you guys, I mean, I'm really not. Like I learn as I go the same way all of you do. So I'm here to learn the same way all of you are. So without me chatting any further, Indi, I'm gonna pass it over to you. You can give everybody all the details and we'll go from there.
Thanks a lot, Gilly. I appreciate that. It's great to have everyone here. Honestly, I was expecting maybe like 10 people. But I guess this kind of thing is something that everyone is itching to learn about these days. And I know that there's a lot of information out there that can be kind of confusing. So I really want to make sure that everyone walks away with a clear idea of how to move forward with social media. And we'll have about half an hour at the end of this to chat, and I'll answer some questions. Now I have my laptop down here and my camera up here, so if I keep looking back and forth, that's why. Okay, yeah, thanks for the intro, Gelly. The numbers that she was referring to were 250,000. So in about 10 months this year, I picked up 250, over that now. I think we're at like 280,000 followers across YouTube and Instagram, and it's been absolutely life-changing for me, and I've learned a lot. So last year I was a waitress, and I had this big dream of getting into film and being an actress, and I had no idea how to bridge the gap from acting to, or from waitressing rather, to acting. And I figured if I started a following for myself, if I made a name for myself, that would kind of get me there. And that's exactly what it did. So here I am teaching people also about how to grow on social media. And I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation for you. Okay. And present. Okay. How's that look? Not too bad. Good. Thanks. Awesome. Okay, Expand Your Influence by Indi Rossi. That's me. If you don't already know me, again, I have 240,000 followers on YouTube at this point, and just over 50,000 on Instagram. It took me, again, about 10 months to grow that. Instagram took me about 6 months, but YouTube was where we started out, and then I started Instagram a couple months later. And I'm going to teach you our 6 simple steps that we kind of boiled down through all the experience that we had in growing that audience, that kind of create the base of a strategy that you can use to grow your own audience on social media. Now, how hard is it to do this kind of thing? It can be very difficult. See, what we had to contend with was having no idea where to start. So I will admit, I said I was a waitress last year before I started this. I had no idea what social media, how it worked, or what I would do with it, but I knew that I wanted to grow an audience. So the way we figured this out, and the way that you can avoid doing that, because we already did it for you, is we were uploading about 4 videos a day for 4 months rather on YouTube. And that gave us a lot of data to kind of sift through and see what really worked out and what didn't work so much. And that helped me grow my audience. So why do some people have such a big following when others don't? I think it really comes down to consistency. There's nothing special about any particular person who has a big following on social media. You might believe that they're beautiful, or they have this secret knowledge that you don't have, or they have this factor about them, but it's really just that they had a why in mind. They had a goal, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they set out to do it. So none of you here could possibly, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could do this, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, yeah, commitment is key. So what usually happens with social media, and what I find in talking to all the people that I've spoken to since I've started my business, which has only been a few months ago, a lot of people, they start on social media and they just kind of expect it to grow. Just people will just flock to them if they post once in a while, but there is a formula to it, and that's what I'm going to teach you here today. Does everyone have a pen and paper, by the way? Hopefully. Okay, good. So what I usually see happen with social media is people start their page, they upload their content randomly, they don't have a strategy. Oftentimes people mix, and if this sounds like you, I'm not trying to call you out, but maybe you should think about what you're doing. They mix their professional content with their personal content. Maybe you go a day and you're like, I need to upload something to Instagram, but I don't have anything, so I'll just post a picture of my dog and it's fine. That doesn't work, and I'll kind of explain why in a little bit. Your engagement, if it's low, that's not going to help you very much. Following is a vanity metric, but your engagement is what really matters. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And audience building, like I've been able to prove, it doesn't take the years and years that people perceive it to, or a great stroke of luck. You just have to have a bit of a strategy and the ability to commit. So by the end of this workshop, again, if you don't know where to get started, then I don't know what to do for you. I really hope that by the end, you'll have an answer for each of the 6 steps that can kind of guide you in the direction to get going on social media in a way that will bring you more results. Number 1, your big why. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard these concepts before, but I'm going to try to tie it all together for you so that it makes a little more sense. Your big why is the reason why you're building your audience. If you're going to commit to something, you probably know from maybe your career or some other hobby that you have to enjoy what you're doing, and you have to know why you're doing it, or you're not going to do it at all. My why for building my audience was because I really wanted to get into filmmaking, like I mentioned earlier. And it's something that has been a dream for me since I was like 7 years old, and it did work out for me. I actually ended up getting some invitations to be in films. I've been in podcasts and magazines. My name is just growing, and it's really exciting for me, and it keeps me going. And you know, what is that for you? So we'll write that down in a minute, but maybe you've heard about e-commerce schemes or get rich quick things. Those can actually work as long as you have the audience to back it up. You're not going to get rich quick with an e-commerce scheme if you don't already have a following that's engaged. So that's just something to remember. Also, to spread a message, to leverage the audience for passive income, or to draw attention to your hobby or passion. It's so great nowadays that social media can bring people to be more aware of what you're doing. I think to be someone who has a passion or hobby 50 years ago, before social media, it wasn't as much of a potential moneymaker as it is today. You can be an artist. There's no such thing as a starving artist anymore, because artists can grow and make huge money from what they do if they can leverage social media properly. Now, exercise 1, we're going to write down a few reasons why you would want to build your audience, whether it's for your business or for you just as a person. Maybe you have a hobby or something. As many reasons as you could think of, or if you have one big one. We're going to get clear on this right now. We could probably open the floor for people's responses later on. But for now, we'll keep going. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. I was always the shy kid in school, tended to be a little nervous when I'm presenting, so I'm just, heads up.
Just, you know, improvise with some of your acting skills. You're good.
Right.
You're doing awesome. So
Really?
are you going to go back to the previous page? Because I was.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I was writing that down. I didn't get them all. Okay, we're good.
No problem. I thought that pixelated GIF was kind of cute.
It is. It's cute. Okay, so I wrote down my my objective, and
awesome.
I hope others did too. It'll be fun to ask people later on, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of why I went into business, because I know a lot of people just have these bigger dreams, but they don't know how to draw attention to themselves. So would love to hear what you have for ideas. in terms of why you want to grow. Okay. The second, that was the first part of the 6 simple steps. This is number 2. So who you want in your audience. I personally have struggled with going into business thinking like, oh, I want to do business with everyone. Everyone could be a potential client. If I could help someone who's, I don't know, in one kind of demographic, it doesn't matter because I can help everyone. You don't want everyone in your audience. And here's why. You want loyal fans who want what you're posting about. And again, this comes back to being consistent with your posts and not mixing things up. You want people who are going to buy what you're selling and what you're offering, and who are going to promote you to other people who are like them. So who do you decide, or how do you decide who you want in your audience? Oh, by the way, you should never buy followers, because that just ruins your engagement rate and it ruins your integrity if you want to do brand deals. But that's something we can talk about later or in a separate conversation.
So Indi, can I ask you how, you went from thinking that everybody could be a follower to figuring out who you actually wanted to, engage and follow you?
Yeah, so at first when I started on YouTube, thanks for asking that, Kelly. I started out just kind of doing vlogs. I didn't really have any idea who I wanted to talk to or who I was speaking to. But then I had this thought, like maybe what I should do is pick an interest of mine and talk about that and see if I can grow it. But I wasn't sure what I could teach people about. And what I ended up deciding was that I wanted to learn about India. For a lot of reasons. I love movies, culture, food, traveling, and I could tie all those things into one channel about India and learn. I don't have to teach, I would be able to learn. And I kind of came across my specific audience just by deciding what I wanted to talk about. But for you, you could either do the same thing or decide what type of people you serve in your business. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to hear your journey, because a lot of people kind of have this journey. A lot of people start with, well, anybody and everybody could use my product. And one of the things that I teach and constantly is avatar, avatar, avatar. You
Yes.
need to know who your avatar is. If you think that everyone's interested in your product, you're drinking silly juice, Yes, I know if you're a realtor, you can sell a house to everybody. That doesn't mean everyone's going to buy a house from you, nor does that mean you should sell a house to anybody. Because if you're dealing with people that you don't, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of your business is your personality. And so what I always tell my people that I work with during the 8-week or, my one-on-one clients, we always have to start with the avatar. And the avatar is a little bit deeper than your ideal client, because when we look at the avatar, we dissect them psychologically. It's a lot of psychological profiling of understanding what keeps them up at night, what are they searching for, things of that nature. So what you said in point 2 essentially is identify your avatar before you start just posting on social media, because if you're posting for everyone, you're posting for no one except yourself. It'll be a pretty scrapbook, much like my Instagram, actually. So
yeah, right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it depends on why you use the platform, but yeah, you're totally right there. And I do want to say it may feel limiting to pick one specific group of people, but what you want to do is start out small and then expand. And that way you can kind of achieve domination. Like, you don't build an empire by sending your armies all over the world. You conquer different parts of the world at a time and then expand. So yeah, what we started out doing, me specifically, was we were covering Bollywood films, which is the film industry in India, or one of many rather. And that kind of expanded to the different industries, and then to culture, and then to food, and all sorts of people who had an interest in one of those things came together. And that was how we achieved such a big number in such a short amount of time. It was very strategic. Okay, yeah, and engagement. So why is engagement key? You could have a really small following, maybe like 1,000 people. If you have, say, I don't know, maybe you're a woodworker, you have a small following of 1,000 people that are all local to you, and high engagement. These people love to see your content. They're always commenting, giving you compliments about what you post, and they come to buy your stuff, and you make really good money. But if you have a huge following, 100,000 people, and they don't really live near you, and they're kind of random, and they don't really pay attention to what you do because it's not relevant to them, you're not going to make as much money. You might not make any money at all. So that's kind of why engagement is more key than following, and it will bring you more in return than you're following. Again, so who do you want in your audience? This part we can write down who you're serving, think small at this point, and then we're going to expand out. We want to have, age isn't necessarily that important, but a location and an interest, either what you're doing or what someone else might want to learn about that you could teach them. Pick that core group, find them, and expand.
All right, yeah, you guys have 60 seconds. Come up with your avatar. Just kidding, that was a joke. You're not going to do that in 60 seconds.
Right. Ooh, all right.
But we all should have a pretty good idea of who we serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we can't put it down in a, you know, you can't dissect somebody psychologically in 60 seconds, but I think for the most part, as business owners, we're pretty intuitive in the sense of who we serve.
Yes. All right, I'm going to try to speed through here. Why does it matter who's in your audience? Because by focusing on who you're serving, the type of content you should make comes clear, and the ideal posting time is clear too. So that's why it's kind of good to start with one specific location, because then you could pick the best posting time for that particular location. Number 3, content. One of the most important pieces. What kind of content will you make? And this part has more pictures in it. I went through and put the text down first, and then I filled in some color. Whatever kind of content you make, it has to provide value. And that drives me crazy. I hate the word value because it's so vague, but I want to explain what exactly that means. A lot of people make the mistake of posting what they think people want to see. And usually what they think people want to see is actually what you want to see, or what you think people want to see is what you want to see. So that's those family pics that are interspersed with the business pics, and your dog and what you had for lunch yesterday. So think back to what we covered so far. It's really simple. People know to take these steps. Oh wait, what did I can't see it. They don't know to take these steps, and they therefore flounder on social media.
So wait, so Indi, can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so can you go back to that slide? So I just want to clarify. So you're saying, okay, so many people make the mistake of making content they think people want to see. So I guess the question is, then how do I know the difference between what I think people want to see and what my audience actually does want to see?
Yeah, I'm going to cover that in a minute. It really just comes down to being able to teach people. Actually, let me just go to the slide.
Yeah, no problem. You can answer. Yeah, it was just, I'm just, you know.
No problem. Okay, so how content creation usually goes, you post the content and then you don't get very many likes or comments and you wonder what happens. Again, if you don't know your audience, you don't know your why, and you don't know what you're going to be posting about in a clear way, your content's going to be all over the place. Humans really like that clarity in that organization. No one wants a random content catalog. They want to know that they're going to get information that they're looking for from your page, and I'll go over that in a slide and a couple more. But yeah, you want to do a little bit of research, and I'll go more into that later on. So you have to research content that already works, and I'll provide some examples in a minute. Make your own version and then post it. It's okay to not reinvent the wheel. So how do you do this research? Google's a great way to find out what people are looking for, what kind of content answers the questions that your audience might be asking you, or your clients might be asking you. Say you're a house painter and you want to make a YouTube channel about how to paint your house. You could do this because people who will use your content, they don't want to pay you to come do these small tasks that they might be able to do themselves, but they do want to know how to do those tasks. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So what you're going to put on your channel is a lot of information about how to do these things that really shows off your expertise, provides that value, makes you seem like you genuinely want to give out information. You're not just looking for people to come pay you all the time. You want people to be able to help themselves and then call you when they have a task that's too big for them to do themselves. Now, this is a lot for business owners. For influencers, it's a little bit different, but I can talk about that later. So yeah, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just look at what's worked before, especially what's gotten the best engagement before, and make your own version. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I had to learn this when I started my business, which is, of course, helping people with social media. It's okay to give out information that you think is so simple, everyone must know it already. Don't assume that people already know something that you don't know. The simpler you can make your content, the more useful it can be. And the example I have is, again, the house painter could make a video about how to open a can of paint. He obviously has done that thousands of times, but there's someone out there who's going to be on YouTube looking for information about how to do it. And if your video comes up, they're going to be looking at you for more information about it. So this is a few examples of what really engaging and really valuable content looks like. I found these all on Instagram, and I have a few examples from YouTube as well. You might see some patterns about how they all have information on them. That's really key. Making content that engages people and is valuable provides information that people might want to save and refer to later on. Okay, here's a couple examples of what engaging and valuable content doesn't really look like. Testimonials are not a good idea for YouTube, and I can explain a little bit why. You might be tempted to think, oh, YouTube it's a place where I can post a ton of video testimonials and it's going to get me a lot of business. That's not necessarily the case. And the reason why is because people aren't going to be searching for your testimonials unless they already know who you are. But the point of growing on social media is to get in front of people who don't already know who you are. Testimonials are not engaging because it's really just promotion, basically. You know, people want the information, they don't want the promotion. And I always kind of, I don't know, give people crap for posting the same generic, like, Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Merry 4th of July, whatever pictures on their social media, when they could post something else that might be a little more interesting.
So Indi, I have, so one thing I just want to say is, and I'm sure a lot of people here know this, but just in case, YouTube is one of the top search engines right after Google.
Yeah.
And so when people search for information, a lot of times they'll land on YouTube. Not necessarily, it's not that they go to YouTube and search for a video, they literally will just put in a question. But if somebody had made a video about it, it's going to show up right at the top. So what Indi's talking about is to get yourself discovered when people search for certain topics. Like that's what YouTube is used for by a lot of people to grow, is that they just create a whole bunch of videos on very simple topic. So like she's saying, like look at what other people are talking about and you can talk about the same thing, but on your channel. And that's what's going to get you, you know, get people to your channel, right? So for instance, Indi was not the first person to talk about India and Bollywood. Right. But because of how she delivered the information and how she titled the videos, she was getting found, right? I'm assuming like you're getting found and that's how you grow the audience. So I just kind of want to make that point because I think that's something I still struggle with sometimes is, well, what should I talk about? And it's just go look at your competition, you know? Right? Like
exactly.
Yeah,
it's okay. That's definitely a good idea. You don't, like, why would you go into it blind when there's someone else who's already doing it? You can just look at what they've been doing and make your own version. It doesn't have to be a whole lot better. It just has to maybe be a little more clear. What can you do about their content that you could do just a little bit better that might help someone else? And yeah, about my particular YouTube channel, what I did was I noticed that there was a spot actually for white American women to talk about India and to learn about India. So that helped me a lot. That's something that you could look for. Maybe there's no business, maybe there's no house painting business. That's just an example I like to use that serves adobe houses in some particular city around here. That's could be your in, and you could provide information about how to do that. What's the way that you could get in there? And here's some examples of YouTube videos that are helpful, informational. They all have high views. And if you notice, the bottom one has 6 million views. People love the numerical lists. So 5 reasons why, 5 ways to do X. And they also like to know how successful people do what they do. So if you have a story like that, that's a good way to get in front of people on social media. So again, your goal as a content creator is to get someone to see your post and save it. If you think of it this way, you want to create content that people are going to see and think, oh my gosh, I have to save this for later. Maybe they won't refer to it again, but the point is you provided them something that they thought they had to have, and then they're going to follow your profile, they're going to subscribe to your channel so they can get more of the same thing. And in fact, Instagram's algorithm takes into account the number of saves and sends that a post gets. So the more people you can get to save a particular post of yours on Instagram, the more it's going to be shown to others and the more it's going to help your following grow. I think this is a really clear way of deciding what's good to post and what's not. So you might be able to see now how those like pictures from your family barbecue or pictures of your dog aren't really helping your cause very much.
That's interesting. So I actually had no idea that that was so would you ever put in the actual writing of your post, save this for later? Would you prompt people to do that?
You could do that, yeah. But if it's not useful to someone, it doesn't matter if you wrote that or not, really.
Well, but I'm saying for me personally, like a lot of times I'll take a screenshot as opposed to save it. But if it said in there, if you find this post useful, save it, I'd be like, oh, I should save it.
Yeah, that could help, definitely. Or you can DM it. Yeah, either way. You're right. A lot of people probably don't know that about Instagram and they don't know that that's a way they could support someone else. So if you made a note, that might be helpful. Good. Okay, the third exercise. Let's write down a few questions or a few things that you might be able to explain really simply to your audience on social media that relate to what you want to cover. What's your topic? If you need a couple examples, I could, but I think I explained this decently well. Anyone need some inspiration?
Are you going to sing for us?
You
What
probably
kind of
don't.
inspiration?
All right, cool. Yeah, feel free to keep pondering that. This is a very important thing to get clear on. Another way to do the research that I was talking about earlier is to look for hashtags on Instagram. And by the way, everyone who's here can get my hashtag organizer for free. I sell it for $17, but everyone can have it. It's really useful for growing on Instagram and also to come up with hashtags that will work on other platforms as well. So YouTube search engine, oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. So Google owns YouTube. And the reason why YouTube videos come up first in search is because Google is constantly promoting YouTube videos to people. And in fact, their ad policy just changed. And this is a little bit extra information that might not matter to you, but they're going to be putting ads on all videos no matter what. So that kind of sucks, but Google makes an absolute ton of money from this. And that's one of the reasons why YouTube videos are going to come up first. And it's why, if you can, you should be on YouTube as an entrepreneur. So looking for keywords or questions on YouTube search engine is a really good way to find what people are looking for and what information they're looking for. And this is exactly what it's going to look like if you use YouTube for that. This goes over people's heads. It went over mine for years and years until I actually started learning how YouTube worked. Everything that shows up in the search bar when you start typing in a search is something that someone has already looked for. And in fact, it's something that someone's already looked for today. So it's updated every day. These are all examples of content that you could make to fill a need that would help someone and get your business out there. That's if you're a house painter. But yeah, if you just type in a few words, maybe how to X with something that relates to your particular business. Ooh, there's a chat. Okay. No, I can't see it. Fine. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, this is a really good way to find out what kind of content you can make. And that's one of the complaints or the comments from people who reach out to me about help with social media. They don't know what to talk about. So at the end of this, I really want to make it clear how, or answer any questions about how you can decide what content to make. All right, number 4, your distribution strategy, where to share. You don't necessarily have to share what you post on one platform on another platform as well. But if you do want to do that, for YouTube for example, it's a really good idea to post informational YouTube videos on Reddit threads or Quora, because people go onto those websites looking for the information that you've covered in your video, and that's a good way to direct them straight back to your channel. One thing that you want to be aware of is posting links from on one platform, say LinkedIn, to another isn't necessarily going to work out the best for you unless you put it in the comments, because the main goal of all these platforms is to keep people there as much as possible. So they want to minimize the people who bounce off to another place. So if you do post links on LinkedIn or Facebook, for example, to another platform, try to put it in the comments of your post rather than the body. One way, this is a really good tip. If you're trying to grow on Instagram, I'd write this down. One way that I grew on Instagram super fast was I looked for other content creators who had the same audience that I do and roughly the same number of followers. And I reached out to them via DM and I asked them if they wanted to do a free promote for promote deal where I would share their profile in my stories section and they would do the same for me. And I was picking up like 1,000 followers a week with that method. It was really helpful. And there are certain websites that you can use to search for influencers or other people of the same size and location and same audience that you have. And I could tell you those at the end. It's a little complicated to explain, but you could just look on Instagram too.
But you'll tell us, because that's actually an important one. I'm personally very curious in that one. So I will ask you again.
Okay.
Okay, how to find.
What's that?
No, just how to find these people, because I know that's actually that's a very grassroots way to grow, is by sharing each other's profiles and getting followers, people that already follow that similar content.
Yeah, it's much more effective than doing like a follow for follow thing, because that's not going to work out very well. In fact, another thing that Instagram takes into account with their algorithm is the number of followers to the following ratio. If you have more following, like if you're following more people than you have followers, Instagram's not going to promote you so much, because it's a sign that you use this follow for follow method, which they don't really like very much. They want organic growth. They want people to be coming to your profile without you prompting them to do that. So if you have more following than followers, try to bring that down to about 50%. That'll help you a lot with your growth. Mm-hmm. So again, coming back to your ideal audience, wherever they're located, you want to use Google or Instagram Insights to decide or find out when they're active on the platform, and that's when you can post. Sometimes it's good to post about an hour early or half hour early so you can get ahead of everyone else, but that doesn't really matter so much. It's also fine if you post a bunch and then look at the engagement, or post a bunch at different times rather, look at your engagement and see when people were most engaged. Posting at a certain time is a really important part of increasing your growth on social media. How often should you post on these different platforms? YouTube, you might think you have to post a ton. We actually recommend 1 to 2 videos a week, but even then that can be a lot of work. YouTube is a very tough platform in terms of the amount of time you have to put into growing your channel. Instagram, I was posting 7 days a week, but 5 days a week is fine at roughly the same time. You don't want to miss days. Again, that's where consistency comes in. TikTok is amazing for rapid growth. I don't know if you've heard of Charli D'Amelio, but she is kind of like me in that she was a nobody last year and she picked up literally 100 million followers in 1 year using TikTok. And all she does is post like 60-second dance videos. It's kind of funny. Facebook, you want to post once a day. We usually don't recommend Facebook for audience growth just because it takes so much time. It's such a saturated platform and I find it really hard to look at Facebook. I just don't like it, but that's your personal preference. LinkedIn is once a day, Monday through Friday, and Twitter, we don't recommend Twitter, so don't bother with Twitter. Making time for your success. This is so important. The reason I was able to even achieve what I did with YouTube and Instagram was that I had just a lot of free time to post those 4 videos a day. Like I mentioned, we were going through quarantine earlier this year, and it was what I wanted to do. And I had that big why of getting into filmmaking. So I really wanted to stick with it. If you want your audience bad enough, or at least a big audience that brings you things in return, you're going to make time for it. You could set aside an hour a day to make a post on LinkedIn or Instagram rather, or LinkedIn, doesn't matter. And if you do it right, if you use the strategy that I'm telling you, it will work, but you have to do it every day. And I want to point out why most successful people appear to have a big following isn't just because they put in that time and energy that other people weren't willing to, but their following feeds into their success. So if you are one of those people who can commit to that kind of thing, you can easily start to rise above and stand out from everyone else. Additional tools. I use Hootsuite for my content scheduler. It just makes it way easier. You don't have to be on the platform at the time that you want to post. You can just schedule it ahead of time and it'll go up there. But you do want to make sure that you check your engagement and respond to all comments that you get. So that might take a little bit of time, but something you got to do. You can also do that through Hootsuite. Canva is an amazing, amazing, amazing program. Really recommend it. It's how I make actually, I just started a new Instagram profile. I won't really give a whole lot of information about that, but if you want to make those informational Instagram posts, Canva is a really good way to do it. And it's also good for YouTube thumbnails. If you want to make a YouTube channel, but you don't want to put your face in your videos, you could use an animation creator like Vyond. Those are really cool and also more engaging than just a black screen or whatever. And if you want to subtitle videos, I recently found this program. It's really easy to use and it's great for getting better engagement on LinkedIn. Agisub is a great way to subtitle your videos. Exercise 4. Now, what is your current social media strategy? Ooh, be honest with yourselves, please. What time do you spend on your social media on a daily basis, and how can you spend that time in a more efficient way? Think about that. I think keeping it fun and simple is one of the most important things. So that's why I usually spend an hour or 2 in the morning coming up with my posts and scheduling them. It's when I'm most creative. Now, what about you?
Can I ask a question, Indi?
Certainly.
How many platforms are you on? You're not on all of them, are you?
No, I am mostly on LinkedIn now for my business. I've kind of stepped back from posting on my Instagram and on my YouTube because it just takes up a lot of my time when I could be serving other people. I am on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I don't like Facebook. I mean, I'm on there, but I don't really look at it very much.
But I mean, I think maybe what Andy's asking is, you're on LinkedIn right now trying to get clients for your business, but initially when you got these followers, I mean, you weren't on LinkedIn, like you were focusing on each platform.
Right. Yeah. When I was starting out, I was only on YouTube and Instagram. You definitely do not have to be on all of the platforms. In fact, if you can only be on 1 or 2, that's probably better. It keeps you from getting overwhelmed. And I think I'll cover that in a minute or two, which platforms are best.
Yeah, I was worried about whether I'd have time to work.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely backed off a little bit, but my following keeps going up. I don't know. That's the thing about having a big content catalog. You get that momentum and people start following you even if you step away a little bit. But yeah, 2 platforms is good. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to be that genius. You don't have to be really beautiful, extra talented, or anything special. You just have to be able to commit and enjoy the process and have something to put out in the world. Oh, I heard this interesting note recently that a really good way to be creative and to increase your creativity that applies to this particular day and age is to make your content before you consume your content. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed with what other people are doing and it's going to derail you. So even more of a reason to not look at social media early on in the day or too much. So which platform do you want to grow on? Yeah, looking at your target audience, where are they located? 2 to 3 platforms, like I just mentioned, is probably best to keep from getting overwhelmed. If you have only one platform, something could happen down the road that causes you to lose it. And if you have a backup, that's a good thing. You're not going to spread yourself too thin with 2, and each platform can have a bit of a different purpose. So for example, my YouTube channel was about India and about the culture and things. And it was not so much, it didn't really allow me to be very creative, because I had to be just respectful and listen and just show a lot of facial expressions. But on my Instagram, I was really able to express myself more as an American versus someone who's actually interested in India. Yeah, each platform can have a different purpose, but grow simultaneously. Pros and cons of each platform. TikTok. If you've never been on TikTok, it's got a lot of young people, but again, it's a new platform, and the potential for rapid growth is just insane. So if you're willing to sort through all the kiddos and create content like literally every day, that's a good one to be on. YouTube has medium discoverability. You might actually be surprised to hear that. A lot of people have the idea that YouTube is super saturated, but it's actually not. There are ways to get in there, and this is one of the things that we work with some of our clients on, how to get into those gaps on YouTube and exploit them for growth. And you can find people of all age ranges, all interests, and all locations on YouTube too. Instagram also has kind of low to medium discoverability, but I find it to be the easiest platform to use. Making content is super easy, posting it is super easy, and maintaining it is also super duper easy. Bit of a younger demographic though. Facebook is where you're going to find the older kind of crowds, people who, oh, that's weird, aren't necessarily that comfortable with other forms of social media. Or was I? Yeah. A note.
Can you go back to the slide? Oh, there we go. Okay. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's so interesting. So Instagram is low to medium discoverability.
Yeah.
So, but the easiest to use. So for money making purposes, right? Because let's assume most people on the call, if not everyone, has some kind of a small business. You know, people have a message, they have a business.
Yeah.
If they had to choose between Instagram and YouTube, or you know, and maybe some of this is more of like a personal thing, but where would people buy, right? Because it's then like we want to grow the audience, but at the end of the day, we want clients, we want customers. So like, which one of these do you think would be a better converter? And I don't know if I'm asking a realistic question, maybe it's different for everyone, but I'm just asking if you have any thoughts on that.
No, definitely a realistic question, and a really good one too. Instagram is actually a surprisingly good platform to monetize, but you're not going to be selling your bigger packages there. What you can do with Instagram that tends to work really well once you establish yourself is have a really like a freebie that kind of leads people to a low price product. And you could link this from your Instagram bio. And once people get all that information for free from your feed, they're more interested in working with you. They go to your bio, click the link, and maybe you have like an ebook there for sale. They read your ebook, it increases their interest in your business, and then they maybe contact you for that call that you could use to sell them on a bigger package. You can monetize all of these platforms. It's not always clear to people who are just starting out on them, but that's another strategy that we work with people on. YouTube, obviously you can monetize it, and YouTube's great because you can make passive income. You don't even have to lift a finger to make money from YouTube. After you start making that content, they're just going to send you a check with the ad revenue on a monthly basis. And that's a huge draw for people to YouTube. But again, it takes a lot of time and effort to actually maintain a YouTube channel. But yeah, if you have a following on Instagram that's highly engaged, you could easily sell a small product to a lot of people and then get some of those bigger converts.
Okay, yeah, thank you. No, that was very interesting. And we have a comment from Francis in the chat. So Francis says, also losing a social media post or platform is based on being censored these days. Do not use words like healing, spiritual, or holistic. You will be censored or banned. Unfortunate, not being negative. Just an FYI, I have at least 8 businesses that have been banned recently that I know.
That's
So-
interesting. I wonder which platform that happened on, because I actually follow a lot of those spiritual kind of healing pages on Instagram, and they seem to be doing fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Actually, I would agree with that. I'm meeting, yeah, definitely more people that are having their Facebook accounts deleted. It's happening.
What kind? Facebook, you said?
Yeah, Facebook. I have
Oh,
spoken
yeah, I
to
don't
a
use Facebook, so it's
number
possible.
of people who are having their accounts deleted or disabled.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I just think Facebook is sketchy, like full disclosure.
It's YouTube. YouTube.
YouTube also? Interesting.
100%.
Huh,
I
interesting. Yeah,
mean, I know it's just be careful what you're hashtagging, and I'm gonna look at your free hashtag creator.
yeah. Oh, maybe the reason for that actually could be people who are putting out content about the pandemic and about coronavirus that goes against the medical science. It's a possibility. I just know that a lot of platforms are pretty tight on the information people put out about that.
I mentioned being an herbalist when I explained my resume and was denied a Facebook ad for mentioning that
Ooh.
I healed naturally.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
could be
definitely
why.
something that they don't want.
Interesting. Good to know. Okay. I'll confuse viewership with an audience. I've seen a lot of YouTube channels that have high viewership, but for some reason they have really low subscribers, and it could be one of a lot of different problems, but that's a good way to know if something is wrong, and that's where you might call in someone to look over your channel and see what's going on so that you can switch that around. There's really no reason for you to have high viewership and not have people want to stay and get more information unless something isn't actually right about what you're doing. Okay, what platforms are you using or have you used that you're most comfortable with that you might be able to grow on? And we just talked about monetization. So what are your monetization goals and how could you incorporate those into your platforms? And if you don't know, feel free to ask. Okay. Ooh, 4 minutes. Oh, wait. Here's number 6. I was running a little bit behind. Your production strategy. Now, again, going back to the consistency thing, this is all one big loop. You want to make sure your content production strategy is sustainable. Now, making 4 videos a day for YouTube probably isn't very sustainable or realistic for people. But if you're only posting 1 to 2 videos a week, maybe you set aside 1 day or half a day to sit down, plan your content, and put it together. Again, it's something you have to commit to. I don't know, a simple, straightforward content production method is what's really going to keep things running for you. And there's so much strategy that goes into this. Again, that's a good way or good reason to kind of go over this with someone. Instagram, again, is a really easy platform to make content for, especially when you're doing the informational content that you can just use Canva to throw together really quick. You don't have to necessarily dress up, do your makeup, take pictures of yourself, unless you're an influencer, but most of us here aren't. Yeah, it's important to schedule the time that you're going to create your content. Otherwise, you won't do it. I am notorious for not doing things that are not scheduled. So an important note is that half-assed content is not the same as simple content. If we go back to the note about the house painter who made content about opening a paint can, that's really simple content. Maybe it's like a 10-second video, but it's valuable to someone else. They took the time to make that video or to write out the instructions, and someone else could use it. Not half-assed, just simple. So when are you going to post? When is your audience active on the platform? Again, something that Google can tell you, really easy to find. Keep your days consistent. You want to schedule your posts as well. If you upload 2 YouTube videos in a week, you want to pick 2 days and make them your upload days. So Monday and Thursday. If your audience can predict when your content is going to come out, that's a huge driver for increasing engagement and growth. Final. So the internet relationships that we develop with people that we don't know necessarily are really fleeting. And that's why it's important to serve the people who follow you and, you know, spend their precious time looking at your content, going over what you're offering them, looking at the things you might be selling to them. There are so many others who are doing the same thing that if you can really be the one who's consistent and who thinks most about how you can help other people, then that's really going to be great for you. The internet is a gift though. Social media opened a lot of doors and it's made a lot of people a lot of money really fast. And having that really large engaged social media following is going to open tons of doors for you. Like I just mentioned, I ended up getting film roles without even having to audition. I had people reaching out to me, directors and production companies on Instagram. They would DM me and say, hey, I see your YouTube channel. You've got a lot of followers. Do you want to be in my movie? And there's an Amazon Prime movie that I finished a couple months ago that's probably coming out soon. I actually haven't checked on it. Guilty. But I had a part in that. And it was just really exciting for me to really finally be able to bridge that gap between where I was as a waitress and where I wanted to be. And it happened in less than a year. So I just wish the same for each and every one of you, no matter what your goals are. I know you can do it. And hopefully this kind of illuminated a bit of a path for you to be able to do so. And again, your audience, it exists already. They just haven't found you yet. Waiting for you to come into your lives. And people love being one of the few who follow you from the beginning and see how much you grow. This is possible for everyone. I get messages like this a lot. People say, hey, I knew you. I followed you when you had 1,000 followers and now you're at 50,000. Congratulations. Like, this is really amazing. And it's just nice, you know, it's nice. Go forth and grow. Please email me with questions. I'm going to take questions now. Perfect timing. Awesome. If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute. Let's see if I can pull up the chat too.
Indi, thank you. That was a lot of great information that you covered there.
Good.
And congratulations on your movie roles, by the way. That is actually very exciting.
Thanks. Yeah.
We'll all be able to say we knew her when, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay.
All right. So who's got questions?
So I have a question because I obviously had the wrong time down on my calendar. So I came in at the very, very end.
Oh,
Is
shoot.
it recorded or was it recorded?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, Irene, we'll send it. I'll send the recording out. No worries.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why I put it down at 2 o'clock. I guess it was at 1.
12. We started at 12.
Oh, you were at 2 hours?
In Arizona. We're in Arizona. Yes.
Okay.
Cindy?
Yeah, I'm glad I don't know if you saw my hand there. So my goal is engagement every day, and I give my gem of information. My avatar are parents of school age kids who have more of a prevention type of mindset instead of waiting, for the hardships to hit. And so I'll always end with a question or share your experience or some way to say, just comment and let's dialogue. And I have a decent amount of followers, and I even did a Thanksgiving challenge for 10 days, which was like, take a photo of what you just did. I can't seem to get people to respond, but I know they're following. Like, I can see the analytics saying, oh, 53 people viewed this. And when I send them the email, like 50% of my email list opens it. So they're there. They're not unsubscribing. They're not deleting me, but they won't engage. And I've done the silly things like, what's your favorite holiday book? Yeah, they'll tell me that. I don't necessarily care. That's not value to me.
Maybe that's your problem. When people are commenting and engaging with one thing in particular that you ask them that means something to them that otherwise they wouldn't post, that's the engagement that you're looking for. And if you can increase that engagement, even by doing silly things like you just mentioned, people are going to start paying attention to what you're doing. So I'm not really, are you talking about Instagram? Which platform?
Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. I would want to look at what you have. So what is your platform about?
Giving parents tools to help develop positive mindset in their children by
Okay.
just daily improved communication so that you're building a resilient mind.
Okay, got you. I would honestly have to look at what you've been posting and your captions, things like that, to give you more detail. But based on what you just said, I think that you might just have a bit of the wrong mindset going into it. People are going to respond to whatever means something to them. And if you're asking them questions that don't necessarily make them feel comfortable responding publicly, then maybe there's a better way you can go about that. Perhaps you invite them to DM you, or you just do something a little differently. Does that make sense? Because this is all
Yeah.
pretty vague.
Cindy,
Yeah.
what is your Instagram hashtag? I'd like to pull you up.
Oh, my username? Yeah, for my big one.
Well, I was asking Cindy. Yeah, you can share
Oh.
yours to Indy, but I was Cindy, sorry. Cindy, what is your Instagram hashtag?
Right now, or I'm sorry, yeah, right now _coach.
Right now _coach. There you are, Cindy Brown. Okay, I'm just gonna look through this too as well. Okay, I see how you did your challenge. Yeah, I think sometimes it's tough to just kind of give an answer why they're engaged, why they're not engaged. And you have, okay, so you have 172 followers. So I think sometimes it's about, gosh, I don't know. I was just, because I watch a lot of people as they grow their pages. Like, I'm not speaking from somebody who's grown her audience to a massive number, but I also, that's not something I try. My Instagram is more of a scrapbook of my life. But I do find that, like Cindy, what you said, I'll ask people questions and they don't answer, but then they keep watching my stories. And I'm like, what are they interested in if they're not interested in my questions? Right. So sometimes there's this gap, and it's almost kind of what Indi said, like she mentioned that earlier, what we think is valuable is not actually valuable to our audience. So then the challenge is finding out, what do they want to engage with, right? Because you said they're like, you can see the analytics. So maybe it's more of that deep dive. What is this avatar? What do they want? And sometimes I find asking questions within stories gets more of a response as opposed to in my posts. Because if they respond to a story, like Indi said, it comes to me personally, it's not a public response.
Yeah, no, I've done that where it's like a yes or no, and all you have to do is tap, like, 0.2 seconds, they're done. I mean, I've learned, like, make it quick, make it short. I mean, I have been 100% consistent since I launched this in May. I get that personal stuff people may not want to put out there, so I try and phrase it like, it's something that could help others that yeah, it's just tricky. And I know they don't want to be sold to, because my avatar is a parent, and if they're on social media, they're looking for the escape. They're not looking to be sold. So I've stepped away from that, where of course, eventually I want to be their family mindset coach, or I want to present at their business to help other parents who they are working with. So I just feel like I'm caught in this strange communication gap of, I want to engage with you, but I know you don't want to be sold to.
Yeah, it's a tough balance to find. It can be. I would like to look at your stuff, and if you could email me your information or something, maybe.
Well, I was going to ask you if you could put your email in the chat, because that last screen wasn't on long enough for me to copy it.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Let's see, I see a couple other questions. 1 second. Linda, your question about subtitles versus closed captioning. They're pretty much the same thing. They're just the text that appears on a video as you're watching it. Subtitles sometimes are permanent and can be turned off. Closed captions can usually be turned off. There's my email. The only particular reason why you could or might want to subtitle a video is to make it more accessible for people who can't hear. But on LinkedIn, you have to actually click on the sound icon to turn the audio of a video on. So that's why subtitling kind of increases your engagement, because people don't have to take that extra step, and they can know what's going on in your video just by reading the subtitles. There was another question.
Yeah, Indi, I can read the questions too. It might be easier. So Jason is asking, what is your opinion on Pinterest?
Pinterest. I've heard a lot of good things. I have actually never used Pinterest, but I would imagine it functions just the same as most other social media platforms. So I don't really have a lot of information for you there, but I know
Okay.
people like Pinterest a lot because it's not so full of ads, I think. But again, I haven't used it before.
I think Pinterest is another discovery tool.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I need to search for something, like if I'm looking for colors for my bedroom, right? Or so I'll go on Pinterest and I'll search for that. So Pinterest is meant to be very visual, and it usually gives you like tips to write like top 10 color schemes or top 10 whatever. It's kind of quick and visual, but it has to be very visual. That's the thing with Pinterest.
Yes, definitely. I see a question about the right hashtags to use on Instagram. I will post my hashtag thingy for you to use. It has some instructions on how to find good hashtags that you want to use for your posts. The best thing to do with Instagram hashtags is to be pretty consistent. I make 3 groups, but this is all probably Greek to you since you haven't seen my organizer.
Yeah, let's see. If you can post the link, we can pull it up. Maybe you can open it for us and maybe like do an example or something.
Certainly, yeah.
I think examples always help. Okay, so I think that was Cheryl's question. I'm trying to see what other questions there might be too. Okay, so Francis is asking about steps to build an audience for a book. Daniel is wondering, can you monetize on LinkedIn? Well, you can, but it's different. With LinkedIn, what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up appointments. You're trying to actually get people to talk to you off of LinkedIn. YouTube, if you're popular on YouTube, they run ads on their videos and you actually get paid because they can run ads on your videos. So it's a different monetization model.
That's what I thought. Because I know about YouTube, but I've used LinkedIn a lot. India, you said you're pushing towards LinkedIn more now. Do you feel any risk of, maybe if we overuse LinkedIn, if people, don't want to maybe connect with you then, or maybe they drop you because you're trying to push yourself?
Yes, that is a thing. I'm sure you might have gotten some DMs from people at some point, which were just promotion right off the bat. LinkedIn content that you want to post, there's like a ratio for it. I can't think of the exact numbers right now, but it's like 20% is actually about your business and what you're selling. 30% is around your business and what you're selling. So like information about how to do stuff that's free content type, like the stuff I was describing that helps people solve their own problems and they don't necessarily have to pay you for it. And then 50% is really just you. So people can kind of get to know who you are and learn more about your personality. So that's one place, LinkedIn, actually, where it's good to kind of mix that. Who is this person and what do they do? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I've been pretty active on it. I don't know if I have a lot of follower or connections. It's around 3,000 business connections on LinkedIn, and just trying to do more with it. LinkedIn Navigator, and maybe even taking some of the data. I found you can export your contacts from LinkedIn, and then I might even put that into the outreach tool for like maybe a drip campaign kind of thing. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, good luck. Cool. All right, let me, I'm going to pull up my hashtag thingy. I think you all can see the link there. All right. So let's just open it here. Oh wait, never mind. Hold on. Let me just get the link. I'm going to stop sharing really quick. So I put this, what's that?
I was saying, I sent you the link in the chat. Make it
thanks.
quick.
Okay. All right, let me share screen again.
Yes, and then we also have a good question from Alexandra.
Okay.
When you're ready. She's asking, should we be engaging in on our followers' posts and not just responding to their comments on our posts?
You definitely can. It's not going to hurt anything. that's a lot of work. I mean, if you want to do that, it's definitely a fine idea. What actually would help you more is engaging with people who aren't your followers yet. So that might convince some people to come over and check out what you have. And if you're going to spend the time doing that, you might want to do that instead of engaging with what your followers are posting. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I think because that would be a lot. You know, I mean, if you have, 50,000 followers, it's hard to respond to all of them. But I would definitely say respond to everybody on your comments and respond to your DMs. That's a must.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Does everyone know how to find your DMs on Instagram?
DM is direct message.
Yes, it's the little paper airplane looking button in the top right on the homepage. Okay, this is my hashtag organizer, which you'll have a link to and you can download for free because you're here and I really appreciate it. So this works. The top part here is your kind of instructions. What you want to do is go on Instagram, maybe set aside like an hour and a half to do this and start looking for hashtags that describe what you're going to be posting about. But the key is to look for hashtags that describe what you're posting about in a way that people might actually type it in to search for. So I think my example here is if you want people to follow your photography page and you post a lot of pictures of the woods in winter, you want to pick hashtags that are like snowy forest or winter wonderland or something that you think someone's looking for this type of picture. What are they going to look for? So a hashtag that's like blue sky, white trees, or walking in a winter wonderland, that's a little too specific and not necessarily something that someone would think when they're trying to find that content. I hope I explained that clearly. It can be a little tricky, but there's an example here for someone who might be posting about healthy eating recipes and exercise, so like the wellness page. Great hashtags: vegetarian food, healthy lifestyle, recipes for kids. You organize your hashtags by size, and this is all easily visible when you use the Instagram search feature. The number of posts that's under the hashtag is the size, and that's explained in the instructions. And when you pick out the hashtags that you use, you want to pick like 2 big ones, 3 medium ones, and 5 small ones. And as your page starts to grow to maybe like 10, 20,000 followers, you can start using bigger hashtags because your engagement is going to be higher and you're going to have more followers. And you'll be able to make more of a dent in the bigger hashtags. Anyone have any questions about this?
No questions on this yet, but how do you find people in your similar industry of your same size, how you were saying, to see if you could, share each other's screen names?
Yeah, so a good way to do that is to actually look up some of these hashtags and look who else posted them. So this works best with smaller hashtags because it's easier to see what specific people posted with them. Like you don't have to sort through 10,000 different posts. If you find one that has 1,000 posts, it's kind of easy to see who the consistent posters with that hashtag are. And I'll also share with you the website that I use. Let me pull it up. I'll post a link. Did that make sense, kind of, Billy?
Yeah, so you would look on the hashtag and see who else is talking about something in your vertical, and then just message them and strike up a relationship. So networking, guys, she's talking about networking.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty
Digital
much, yeah.
networking.
People who do the same thing. You might not want people who have the same business as you, but people who have the same audience, because their audience might be interested in what you have, but you're not competing with each other.
Right, so almost like referral partners. Gregory's asking, would your hashtag work if your account is private?
It'll still work, but private accounts aren't going to grow very well because people are going to bounce right away and they're not going to spend the time waiting for you to accept their follow requests. So ideally, people want to be able to go to your page, which is public, and just see what you posted already and decide right then and there. So a public account is the #1 thing that is going to help you. It's like the basic place to start. So this website I just posted, it's influence.co with an advanced search feature. What you can do is put in a category. Oh, it's super handy. Actually, I'll just share my screen really quick again. Oh, hold on. Super awesome search feature. You can look for influencers by category, location, their size. So similar size to you, et cetera, et cetera. This is about influencers, but this website as a whole is for kind of brand deals. So there's a lot of businesses on here as well. This is what I use to pick up those 1,000 followers in weeks, every week. Okay.
That's
Again,
interesting.
any
So
more questions?
you can go and like in category, I can put like spiritual or something, and then I'll get all the influencers that post. Okay, that's a great tool. I've
Yeah.
not used that one before. Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that. We have another question from Leah. She's asking, how can you use this with YouTube? So Leah, are you asking about the hashtags? I don't know if Leah's still, oh yeah, Leah's still on the call. Okay, so Leah, I don't know if you could clarify that for us, because I'm not sure what in particular piece you're referring to, how to use it with YouTube.
Well, YouTube and hashtags used to be more of a thing. It's not so much anymore. YouTube changes their platform and little things about it almost every week. Hashtags were a way that YouTube was organizing content, but now it's actually very heavily focused on the title of your content and the first 200 characters in your description and your thumbnail. So you want to have a title that contains multiple keywords, same with your description. And this is all, again, really kind of detailed information, but it might not be
No.
clear. But
No, but that makes sense, because it's kind of like SEO, like keywords, like what are
Exactly.
people searching for? And that's how they're organized. That's why it's important to see, before you title your video, it's important to see what people are searching for, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I come up with the name of a blog or the name of a post, and then I go write information based on the name.
Mhm.
Paul has a question too.
So on those lines, Indi, do you know of a resource that we could pull up that would have, and I know you said the algorithms change all the time, but just kind of a cheat sheet for, what they're looking for at this moment? Do you know a resource for that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the only real way to get that information when it happens is to have a big following on YouTube. So with my account, my following, I get those updates when they happen. I would say the best thing you could do is probably make friends with someone who has a following, like 100,000 plus, and see if you can get that information from them. There could possibly be a website that has those updates, but I haven't found it yet because I haven't really needed to.
Yeah, that's the only real reason I'm friends with Indi, guys. That's
Yeah, I was gonna
Thank
make
you,
a
Indi.
newsletter about it. I just didn't. Would that be useful if I sent out some newsletters, like on a maybe weekly basis with YouTube updates?
I would find that helpful. And
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Sure, I'll be your friend. The branded content tag on Instagram. So that's just a tag that makes it clear that you're being paid to promote posts, because that's very important information for consumers. There's actually laws about it. All right, anyone else?
Cindy, go ahead.
I know you put out a schedule as far as when to post. So on Facebook and IG, do you have a pattern of how often you're in a story versus on the feed? And do you coordinate what's in your story with what's in your feed, or could it be a different aspect?
Stories are, in my mind, they're very free flowing. The only time I really coordinate what's in my story with what's on my feed is when I want to just promote a new post. And I don't do that all the time because I just think it's kind of tedious, but you can definitely use stories for that. There was another part to your question. What was it?
Is there a schedule? Is it, because I know I've heard some people say, make sure you're in your feed every day, but in your story at least 3 times a week.
Yeah, a schedule. I'm not the type of person to update my stories very often. I just don't like to have my phone on me all the time like that. But if you want to be consistent and post on your stories every day or 3 times a week, that's definitely not going to hurt you. But yeah, making sure you post on your feed, your regular feed every day or 5 days a week is the best base plan.
Does the engagement with both of those increase your numbers? And if the same person commented on my story and on my post, does that not work double for me?
Yeah, no, that all works out. Any engagement that you get with your posts is going to work out, and it's going to make Instagram pay attention to your profile more.
And stories count in that
Yeah.
algorithm?
Stories tend to get more views. And just because they're really easy, they all show up at the top of everyone's main page, right? So that's why when I promote people, I promote them in my stories. It just gets them a bit of a better result, and same for me.
Yeah, and you know what, something I'll share is I get different engagement on my Instagram posts versus my Instagram stories, meaning I get different people, because there's some people that don't like to watch stories and they just want to see a post. And then there are some people that don't really scroll through the feed, they only look through the stories. So it's very interesting for me to see when I'll do a story, right? Because you can see who the viewers are. And it's very different people that engage with me on my Instagram post. And when I go over to Facebook, I have people that never engage, ever engage with me on any of my posts. They're engaging with me on my stories.
Mhm.
So it's everybody consumes content differently. So we're looking at it through their point of view, right? It's almost like, and Cindy, ask Indi, and Indi was saying she doesn't necessarily post from her post to her stories. I do that. And I do that because I actually get different people seeing it depending on how they consume content.
Do you hashtag both your story and the post? And do you tag anyone in your post or your story?
I usually just, when I'm tagging, the only time I tag people is when I'm promoting someone. My stories tend to be just whatever I'm doing at any given time. But the reason for that, and for me specifically, is because my Instagram is about my personality. It's about me as a person. For a business owner, it could be different. And maybe you do want to tag people strategically like that or use hashtags. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess the tagging, from what I was told, was like, there's the group of people I tag because they're like, I'll always support you, but I can't see it all, so tag me so I can like it. But then there's other people I tag because I do want to draw attention to this post to them specifically. And then I was told the only way to drive traffic to your post is to hashtag, and I'm not sure what drives traffic to a story.
Okay. Well, with stories now, I believe the only people who are going to see your stories are those who are already following you. And if you want to get in front of people who aren't following you, Reels is actually a better option. So Instagram Reels, it's a lot like TikTok, but it's going out to the whole of Instagram, and that's where you would probably be better off using hashtags. I don't think that you can scroll through people's stories if you're not already following them. Well, you can, but they're not going to show up in your explore page.
If you tag a location, then your story will show up in that location's tag.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes, that should work.
Yeah. So Cindy, I think, I think listening to what you're saying with your strategy, tagging is not necessarily a way to get people to engage or grow the audience unless they know you're going to tag them, right? Like if you say, Gelly, okay, I'm going to do a post, you do a post, we're going to tag each other. But sometimes people tag me just to get engagement and I get irritated and I don't engage with them.
Yeah.
Right. Cause I'm like, well, don't pull me into your thing. I don't even know what this is. So I think it could backfire, unless I'm just promoting somebody and giving them love, right? Like, let's say I'm like, oh my gosh, Cindy's content is so amazing. Everybody go look at it. Here's Cindy's tag.
Yeah.
And I post it to tag you, and it's just to, I'm not trying to get anything out of it except just to promote you. I find, again, because I'm not in Indi's realm. I don't have thousands and thousands of followers. I find that for me, it's hashtags, and it's sometimes I'll post a story and it'll get a ton of views and I'm like, where are these people coming from? And it's because of something I tagged or hashtagged in there.
Yeah.
So that could work. but
Yeah, no, I find more success with hashtags than tags.
Yeah.
You mean like location tags versus hashtags? Or like people tags?
Hashtags tend to get me more engagement than my so-called followers.
Yeah, that I would imagine, because the hashtags are gonna help you get exposed to other people. Yeah, tagging people, like Ellie mentioned, it can backfire on you, tagging people you don't know, because of course, then you're just forcing the connection rather than letting it happen organically.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
no
Look at all
problem.
these networking concepts that we talk about all the time, guys. Relationship building, it's all the same. Networking in person and networking online is very similar. It's all about building those relationships. People just want to be talked to like they're, you could have a conversation over DM the same way you would face to face. And that's what people respond to really well.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we're at 1:30 now. Anyone with any more questions, feel free to email me. That's indirossiofficial@gmail.com. Pretty easy to remember.
I think, Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you, with this expertise and knowledge that you have, are you gearing up to coach people on their launching of their presence as a social influencer? Or how,
Yeah,
are you
so-
monetizing this skill in any way?
Yeah, I do have a business around this. My business partner and I, he's more of the strategic mind, and I love focusing on content. So what we usually help people with is the strategy for how they get started and move forward, basically to save them that time and keep them out of the spinning your wheels type phase. Mostly strategy. I just started doing management for people as well. So we certainly could help.
So I think the question Laura is asking is, are you for hire? If somebody,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell
Yeah.
people about that?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to plug myself too much. Yeah, so what my partner and I do is we work with people. We focus mostly on YouTube and Instagram to help them develop a strategy that they can stick to that's going to get them towards their goals on social media. And like I just mentioned, we do Instagram management and YouTube management as well. That's basically it. I guess I need to work on my elevator pitch.
That's okay. I
Kelly.
know I'm the same way. I always forget to tell people what I actually do. I'm like, oh, great. I did this whole thing and I didn't tell them how they could work with me. That's like the story of my life because I'm so focused on delivering value and the content. So
Yeah.
I think all of us can see you're highly knowledgeable and, there's no way you can deliver all that needs to, all the information in an hour and a half. But and the thing with social media is that it changes constantly and so quickly. And if you're not on top of it, you don't know, and you've got to like literally live in it in order to know when the changes are coming down, what the algorithm is doing. I know there's a point where Instagram was creating a lot of influencers and they changed some algorithm and people lost their entire businesses because they changed the algorithm. And one of the things that I say all the time, social media is great, but you know what's better? Email. So when you build, because you're not going to lose your email list, but you could easily lose your Facebook page. You could easily lose your Instagram, your YouTube. You get shut down and there's nothing you can do. So when you do build an audience, one of the things I always suggest to people is get people to opt into something so you have their email address. Should you ever lose your social media following, then you have their email addresses so you could engage them in some different way.
Exactly. Yes. Very true. And that kind of ties back into the monetizing Instagram. When you put up a freebie or a small thing for people to buy, that's a great occasion for you to get their information. Like that website Gumroad that I just showed you with the hashtag thing is a great tool for that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
Outstanding information.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good job, guys. Really enjoyed it. Nice job.
Oh, thanks. Oh my
Yeah, this
goodness.
was Indi's first time, guys. I think she did great. Like, I mean, it was good information. Yay! You should put that.
Great job.
Thanks. I was sweating all morning, like, oh my gosh.
No, you did awesome. And honestly, I think the content was great. Like, because this is what people need to know. It's just the raw content and how do we do this? And there's no magic button. It's hard work and consistency. Hard work and consistency, guys. You have to treat your followers like you would treat a community. And some of you might look at this and say, I really don't have time for this. And you really might not have time to make it successful. And that's what you've got to know is you've got to pour time into it if you really want to make it successful. But if you could, and the other thing to know is that you're building, when you're in building phase, you're always pouring in more time than when you're maintaining. So you may have to give yourself 4 to 6 months and know that you are going to live on a platform, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, because you are building on that platform. But once you get it to a point, then you maintain, you could back off a little bit.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yep. Yeah, I guess one last note, since I struggle to promote myself, we have a project coming up with a client. She wants to grow an audience of 500,000 followers in 9 months. So we're going to be working with her on that. Really exciting, but definitely going to see how far we can take it. So if anyone's interested in that kind of thing, maybe you want to do a career change and become an influencer instead of whatever you're doing now, I can certainly help you with that. But okay. Cool. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it.
all right. Thank you, Indi. Thank you, everyone, so much. We'll get the recording out shortly once we get it buffered and everything.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone. So great to see all of you.
All right, Kelly, are we gonna hang here for a second or are we going go somewhere
No,
else?
you can go ahead and finish it. And
Okay.
I'll call you.
Awesome.